Students, then we're back with module 33, types of inflation. So in the last module, you kind of saw how when you add more money into the system, it's going to cause inflation to happen. So in this one, we got inflation, disinflation, and deflation. The classical model of money and prices, if you think about what's going to happen, the classical people thought, nah, we don't really mess with the short run. We're just going to see this happen all the time. So all they're really looking at is that long run stuff. This is before Keynes really got into like, we can mess with that aggregate demand. So basically, whatever the percent change in money is going to equal that percent change in price level. When I add more money into the system, we're just going to see the price on everything go up. And that's sort of how classical economists would deal with the idea of adding money and inflation. Now, inflation can seem like a tax. What's going to happen in an inflation tax idea, or why it seems like a tax? Because the Fed can take that debt and create money, and we can basically just add money into the system all the time. When we add that money in and then we buy back our like securities through open market operations, they're basically making money out of thin air. And then they're going to say, oh, the Treasury pays the interest on the debt owned by the Fed. And then the Fed is going to say, they're going to hand that interest paid on government debt back to the Treasury when they're doing something like open market operations. So basically, the Fed can enable the government to pay off lots and lots of its outstanding debt just simply by printing money. So they print the money, put it into the system, and then of course all that's really happening is well, yeah, your debt is paid, but you're going to see inflation happening for everybody. So this idea of an inflation tax, when the government can generate like revenue just by printing money, the idea is called seigniorage, and that is definitely a testable word. So make sure you know what that is. But when you think about the inflation tax, as you can see, if we decide to print money as a government to cover our deficits, then who's going to get stuck? Well, anybody that had money, right? Because now what's going to happen? It's not really a tax per se, but what it is, it's going to erode the purchasing power that you had before. So when you think about how much money that maybe you had and what it could buy, now it's not going to be able to buy as much because there's more money in the system, everything's going to have higher prices, and all the money you thought you had doesn't buy as much as it was before. So it's not really a tax, but it can feel like a tax on those people that had money to begin with. As you look at hyperinflation, now we're talking about Germany under the Weimar Republic or something like that. When you think about printing lots and lots and lots and lots of money, well, you can do that and then pay all your debts, but you're going to destroy your country's economy because everything's going to be so expensive that you're not going to be able to afford anything. So when you think about those countries that do stuff like that, I guess it sounds like it makes sense because you can just print money and then pay off whoever you owe. But at the same time, if all the goods in your country are now worth so much money that it's going to take so many of the things that you're printing to pay for them, then what's going to happen? You're going to get this substituting commodities for currency kind of stuff. We're going to go back to a barter economy because your money just has no value. When you get into like inflation then, or disinflation, a couple ways you can get inflation. One of them is a cost push inflation. Those are caused by decreasing the short-run aggregate supply, right? So when short-run aggregate supply shifts to the left, that's going to be inflation. Probably going to lead to like stagflation, right? So now we're going to have higher interest or higher price level and then less stuff produced. Whereas demand pull inflation, that's when your aggregate demand is going to shift to the right, which is also going to cause inflation to happen. Sometimes you'll see some of these things happen, especially that demand pull inflation when there's like an election, for example. A lot of times right around election time, especially those people who are the incumbents, they want to do something like cut taxes. They cut taxes, people feel good, the economy's doing well because we know they're going to have more money in their pocket, they're going to go spend it, and then your aggregate demand's shifting to the right, so you're going to get some inflation, but you get reelected. Disinflation is the idea of bringing down inflation. Remember, anytime you're trying to disinflate or deflate that economy, not good, because as people start to not buy things, like 75% of your economy is consumer spending, and if people don't buy, whew, that's a big hit to the overall economy. So that's a tough one. We don't really want to do that. You want to make sure that the inflation you have is just kept in check. Watch this little video if you get a chance. It's a Jacob Clifford one, I believe. It talks about inflation and it gives you through like different types of examples. And then when you get to here, this talks about the natural rate of unemployment. And so when you think about this natural rate of unemployment, that's going to be like right where our full employment is. So whatever rate that's at, that's going to be our natural rate. And then it talks about this the difference between potential and actual. So you can look at that just in your textbook if you want to. And last but not least, Google search up Econ USA, or in your notes PowerPoint, click on this link because you're going to get Jacob, I think is it Jacob Schumacher? What was that guy's name? Anyway, he's going to give us one of these inflation Economics USA 21st Century Edition. And you know, I love that sound of the beginnings of Economics USA. So as you look at it, that's what we're talking about for this section. You can go look at that video right there. And then if I go back here, that's it. So there you go, kids. Have a good video watching time. And with that being said, see you next time.